Alright, world. Haven't made a video in a while. A lot of things have changed, within me and the world. A lot of great things are happening as we speak. And the more I've come to terms of everything that's going on and being fully aware and awake of all situations, I'm totally at peace now. I don't speak out of anger. I don't address situations without a resolution. I am totally, fully aware of who I am, being a living, breathing man. And I would just like to enlighten everybody on major things important in this world. And that would be the growth and change of humanity as a all. Because the facts are facts. Truth is truth. We're all uneducated and real meaningful subjects and matters of the world we associate in and about daily. And if we ever want to see true change in our higher selves and living the lives we desire and dream of, we have to start over. We had to start from the basics. The language, the codes, the systems, the structures, the mathematics, not the ones we learned in school. Numerology, geometry, sacred geometry, the creation of the world, and how Leonardo made his amazing paintings, and all these amazing structures and cathedrals and churches were all designed off of these shapes and creation of life. And it isn't just a coincidence, it's just facts of life. Truth is truth. It's just the way it's proportioned and the way it's made to be. Nature is never wrong. Nature is the only giving, always giving life and asking nothing in return, except for us to kindly take care of it, which we are doing a horrible job at because of, the elites wanting to control everything and pollute our air and our planet and everything else, when we have way better resources to do way better things. And that is soon to come. Sooner than we think now, because we have the right man in the right place creating true change for the better of the world, not just America, because this is worldwide. And when you come to truths and the terms and the things we've been dealt with, and you see between all the lies and all the facade and fakeness, and you see what's really happening, it's hard at first, very hard. You get angry, you get built up, you get emotional, you got your ups and downs, you're lost, you're isolated, and yeah, you lose. I wouldn't say you lose friends and family, they're still there, but the old connection isn't there as before, because when you come into the awakening process and being aware of these things, it's hard to have a conversation about meaningless things, And I try, And I will continue to try. But I will always want to rather speak about enlightening and growth and change about better things. But I won't sit in the crowd and talk bad or negative about anybody no more. Because I understand everyone's been put in different situations. And I have no clue of what they're going through. As they don't know any clue about what I've gone through. I don't share much. But I would just like to teach and grow with everybody at the slow pace we have to go at, because it's a lot to learn. But to make it now, because of this change that's happening, we really need to start focusing on the things that are disrupting our life and our happiness. We have to look at those main problems. If it's bills, if it's mortgage, if it's the job, you gotta do this, you gotta decode it. You start seeing different things and how things work and how the system's structured. The banking, the job, everything's structured a certain way, and these codings of language and UCC codes, Bill of Rights, there's all types of things. But there's different things and different fractions and different structures to throw here and to throw there. And to dissect this sentence, to dissect that sentence, or just this one word that makes this sentence not make no sense. But instead of just letting it not make sense to you, that's where we're all screwing up. And just saying, okay, I don't understand that word, and just let it be. No, we need to know what that word means. That word means a very lot, and it is particularly in that place for a particular reason. So that word has to be dissected. So now you take that word out of the sentence that is causing confusion, and you take that word and you dissect that and find out exactly what that means. And then you put the definition in the place of where that word was. And then you'll understand the sentence completely. And you'll find out a lot of things, good and bad. But we got to start doing our own research. We have to do our due diligence on our own. We don't need teachers. We don't need to pay nobody. Learning is something that comes freely and natural. A teacher teaches you a skill. You develop the skill over time. Better or worse. It depends on your mind power of how much you are intrigued by that skill or that subject. You know, Mike Tyson's trainer wasn't the best in the world, but Mike Tyson was better than him. That's because Mike Tyson had the mind power and willingness to go above and beyond and become that every day. That's what he fed his mind, and he was going to be the best. And it's maybe true to some people, true to other people, not true to some people. But regardless, he didn't get taught by a teacher how to become the best. He got taught a skill, and he developed it on his own to become the best. Understand? The teacher is going to hand you the book. You got to read it and develop the skill to understand it. You can read the book 100 times and still fail the test 100 times because you're not understanding it or taking in the subject and the matter and a mindly passion of it intriguing your mind and opening it up for enlightenment of real meaning and purpose. Because once you start learning these systems and the banking and the billing and the medical and the police, all that stuff, once you start learning these things, it just gives you so much relaxation, just pretty much in life in general. And yeah, nobody's gonna believe the things you speak of once you start learning the truth, because it's really, really, really crazy and ridiculous, any of it. But then when you start reading the law and the books, and then you dig a little deeper, and then you look here and you look there, and all the laws say this, and there's been plenty of court cases, and lots of them don't go to court anyway, because they don't want the masses knowing we've all been pretty much uneducated, and they treat us as we are incompetent minor children. And that's how they look at us whenever we go in any of these facilities that these higher, these servants of the public work. Bankers, officers, medical, because none of them have jurisdiction over us, regardless, being a living, breathing man or a United States citizen or state national. You say this shit about the sovereignty, whatever. That's just ignorant people going around not knowing the truth behind the matters of what they speak. They talk about, I can drive without a license and this and that. Well, right there when you said that, that's ignorance, because you ain't done your homework, because you just verbally just put yourself in a charge of driving, saying driving, because the definition of driving is a government employee transporting goods to and from. So a truck driver, a UPS driver, a taxi driver would be a driver. So a driver would need a driver's license. So I can't say I'm out. If I don't have a license, I can't say I'm driving. No, because that puts me in commerce right when I say driving. Understand? And you can't have no physical visuals on your vehicle stating it in or working among commerce in the system, because that gives them a charge on you automatically, because your vehicle identifies as it being in commerce. So if you want to go about it that way, at least learn how to address the situation if it does arouse and someone does pull you over, and you go about your way freely like you're supposed to, but you have to know how to speak. That's the trickery, because you get off all the stickers, all the license plates, you're out of commerce. All right, you're not driving, you're traveling. Any citizen is free to travel. And to make it official, you don't get a driver's license, you get a passport, because you are, and everybody's allowed to travel freely in this world. When people go across the country and they rent a car, you think they rent it with their driver's license? And they show the foreign people their driver's license? No, they show them their passport, because they have the right to travel freely in the world. Understand? And the only reason you would have a driver's license and have a registered vehicle to the state, a motor vehicle, another word, a motor vehicle is a vehicle that transports goods to and from for the government. So like I said, driver and motor vehicle are one and one together. They are the same thing. That means you're working for the government, and you're a taxi driver, truck driver, Uber driver. Your vehicle is government owned, and you're a government employee. Otherwise, they're robbing you. They're robbing you blind. Because then now you're obligated to these tickets of, dumbass offenses that ain't criminal. Because you don't even know what a ticket is. And you're like, oh, I gotta pay this ticket, blah, blah, blah. Well, the ticket's a bill of invoice. What is a bill of invoice? See, these are things you gotta learn and dissect. And if a policy officer hands you a ticket and says you gotta sign here, blah, 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 and you can pay prepaid, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let them say whatever. You're going to say whatever. That's they're told to do their job and to force the fucking law. That's fine. You just make sure you sign it without recourse. You sign your name. You either put UCC 1-108, or you put your name and then say without recourse. And then already, automatically right there, boom. You paid the ticket. Done. You ain't got to go nowhere. You ain't got to do nothing else. Boom. And there may be some uneducated cops out there that will say you can't do this, but that's not the case. You can do that, and that's against the law for them to tell you can't do that. That's when you know more about it. So then you learn the code for them saying that, and you got them on a charge right there. See, the way to do it, see, these officers and these other public officials and places, they don't know the real world neither. They were taught to do a job. And if anyone is taught to do a job, they mainly focus on doing their job. They don't really focus on going above and beyond or breaking into the dynamics of it and what their job really is, or what these papers that they hand to people really mean. They don't even know. They got codes written on these statements and stuff, but I guarantee you, over half of them, if you say, what does this code on this contract say, they won't even fucking know. I guarantee it. That's when you step in, educate yourself, and you know what it means. And you know how to force another code on top of that code. And they can throw another code, and then you just throw 3 more on that code. And you beat them at their system. Or you work with them at their system. And you create abundance of knowledge, power, growth, change, and the things we all want in life. The better things. But they're not going to be given to you being ignorant. I hate to say that. We're all meant to create a better world. That's why they just can't have everybody running around with millions of dollars. You know what I mean? They want everyone to step into their growth and knowledge of how they create what they want. And start realizing these bills aren't what they really think they are. And there's a way to pay them off properly to benefit you. And you start creating a good line of credit, a positive line. Instead of continuously getting the bill every month and sending it back, not even paying the bill or discharging it, and you sending in your hard-earned cash when the payment was the bill itself. You're not supposed to send in your hard-earned cash or your account information. You worked hard for that, all week for that, you know what I mean? That's for you to enjoy the little bit of life you do have if you got a 9 to 5. That isn't to pay these so-called bills. The bills pay themselves. You have to endorse them the proper way as it says it on the bill. Now here's where you got to dig deeper. You got to dissect that bill. First, find out what a bill is. A bill is a bill of invoice. Then you find out what the bill of invoice is. Then you find out about the bill of exchange. Then you find out about negotiable instruments. Then you find out about promissory notes. And all these things is real value. More than money. That's how you pay your bills. Not with cash money or your bank account. It's the exchange of energy. All you gotta do, then people are gonna say, no. You call the company, they're gonna say blah, blah, blah. The companies are meant to play this game of charades or whatever the hell it's called, or shenanigans or something. But they play that. That's their job. They're gonna say no to the end. They're never gonna admit it. Until you throw an accusation at them with a UCC code, and then they're going to know. They're either going to have to rebut that accusation with proven document, or they're going to have to change their tone with you and speak to you like the living, breathing person you are, instead of treating you like you're incompetent and you're just nobody. But it's all about tone and approach on these situations too. We can't go into none of these conversations with none of these people out of anger and emotion. I know it's hard sometimes because things are tough, but it ain't that tough. It's not. Because if you properly do this, like I said, the bills pay themselves. You just have to do it the right way a couple times and then it's gone. Really. And it actually, you actually paid the bill proper for the first time of your life. And there's ways to do it electronically too. And you can send cash with it too, but you got to make sure you endorse it right to make sure it gets properly put into that account and they know that that's where it's supposed to go. So they can't take that cash and put it in their pocket and then use your bill, put a stamp on it, and then there it goes. They just, your bill still paid itself, but you just gave them some pocket money to walk around in. Your hard-earned pocket money. You understand? That shit's got to stop. So I would just like everybody, it's hard to make big change, but it's not when you do it step by step. And you go at a pace that suits you and what intrigues your mind and what you want to learn about that's going to better your life. Learn things that are meaningful, that's going to help you succeed and grow. I know people love their sports and this and that. You can learn about all your teams, your stats. But say, you can still do that, but instead of putting too much time into that, take 20 minutes of the time of doing that and look into a little bit of your banking, of how to maybe establish better credit, what you can move here, what you can do here, but not what you've been told to do your whole life about how it works. You don't want to go off anybody's ways of how to do it or how you've always done it and how those are always been wrong. You need to dissect it, learn it, learn what you're really doing, and then it's going to be easy. And then you'll be banking on your fucking football team and all that every damn day, because then you know the system, the ins and outs, the codes, how it's going to work this week, how it's not, the times to make a bet, the times not to make a bet, what days are lucky for you, what days aren't, what aligns with your soul, what doesn't. It all it all means everything. It's the way you carry yourself also. You have to always know thyself. And knowing yourself is the first key thing you have to develop. Because if you don't believe, or you don't know yourself, and you're always throwing doubt in front of your obstacles, you're never going to move. You're never going to grow. You're already shutting yourself down before it can even possibly happen, because you doubt it yourself. So no matter what, you can do it all. You can do it anytime you want. It's all in your mind. Just be intrigued by what you learn. And, make sure it's meaningful and purpose. Be somebody with integrity and stand strong and firm when you address anybody of who you are. And they know right from the get-go, just by you presenting yourself, you're well-rounded and mature and not incompetent little minor child, and you can deal with these situations and need to be treated as a human being, or not as a living being, because it gets deep and sick. We all got two identities, and that's where they got us fucked up. You can be the beneficiary or the creditor, or you could be the trustee, whatever, but they're treating us, we're taking all the downfalls of the fictional character. That paperwork, that's our fictional character. That all caps letter, that isn't you that owes that. That isn't you. That's a piece of paper that supposedly owes this fictional piece of paper money. Because you find out about promissory notes and negotiable instruments, and they have way better value than the cash dollar, you start understanding that your signature and you writing out a check, or just a promissory note or an affidavit, that's how the court systems work, a conditional acceptance, that's how the procedures go. It's all paperwork, and it's all hand signature. Your signature creates the value. The banks don't loan you their money. You gotta have two living people sign a contract for it to be valid, right? Who signs the damn paperwork? I know I just went to the bank and did this. Nobody in the bank signed it, but I signed it twice. So does that mean I'm two living people? Yes, it does. I got my fictional twin, fetus, whatever, that was born when I was born, that was given the same name as me with all caps. And then I got the living, breathing man I am, which I would say I'm Joe and he's Steve. And Steve's the one that gets all the paperwork, and he's the one that's got to deal with all the debt. I'm the one that benefits from it. I'm the creditor of that. And they don't treat you like that when you walk into the banking or the courtrooms. You have to address these people and put that, and you have to put that in front of them and present it to them of exactly who you are. And you will be presenting yourself as that. And you want clarity and transparency through all disclosures. No runaround. And they're going to treat you different. Believe me, they're going to change their whole tone. Like I said, you call these bill people and you tell them, This is my conditional acceptance verbally. I do know the debt, and I know I owe, and I'm trying to discharge the debt the proper way. And then that's all you say to them. And then if they you know what I mean, they can't do nothing after that anyway. They can say no, whatever. But right then, you already got into them. They know they can't do nothing else. Because you just don't go saying this thing out of ignorance. You already know the law before you speak these things. This is what you gotta keep in practice mainly. Is not to